Hello everyone, it is Hunter from web series or whatever. I'm sorry, I can't do this. Ever since the split up, my heart's just not in it.
Son, we've decided to make it work. We're getting back together. That's right. Our bond has never been stronger.
Hello everyone, it is Hunter from Gaming by Gamers and welcome back to web series episode 13. On today's episode, we're going to be playing SpiderMan Edge of Time on the Xbox 360. Before we jump into gameplay though, I just want to take a second to thank this episode's sponsor, the Collector's Outpost. The Collector's Outpost is a really cool collectible store, and if you stick around towards the end of the video, I'm going to be talking a little more about them. Thank you again, Collector's Outpost, for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get on to the review.
SpiderMan Edge of Time is a sequel to the last game, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. The game is very different this time around though. The only Spider-Man in this game are the Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099. The story starts off with the Spider-Man of 2099 chasing the CEO of Alchemix to stop him from going back in time and starting the company back then? I guess that's bad. I mean, I know it's bad, but I was expecting something a little more, I don't know, sinister? He ends up succeeding, and in the future, all the buildings are now painted black.
No!
And when you enter the time portal, you see the death of the Amazing Spider-Man. You're able to contact him and warn him that Anti-Venom is waiting up there to kill him. Peter says, "F that," and goes up there anyways. This is where we actually start to play, so let's talk about gameplay. First, I'll start with the combat. Remember this? Yeah, it's just this, but watered down. I really don't know how they dropped the ball so hard with this. The combat in Shattered Dimensions was fine. It wasn't anything great, but at the very least it felt punchy. But in this game, it's a total downgrade. Combos are gone, and the game has just become smash X and Y until the group of enemies is dead. They do have upgrades that unlock different attacks, but they're only special attacks that you can use when you have full stamina. For normal combos, you just have short and long range attacks. As you can imagine, that got very boring very quickly. And unfortunately, fighting groups of enemies is most of what you're going to do the entire game, with a few rare exceptions.
I never said any of those rare exceptions were any good.
Instead of QuickTime events, they chose to add what I can only describe as button mashing to open a door or close something. Used sparingly, this can be a cool little mechanic that adds tension to your game. When used 100 times like this game, it really isn't as effective though. This happens in the game way too often, especially towards the end. I know it's better than QuickTime events, I know that, but I just ended up hating doors by the end of this game. Also, the presentation and upgrade system is really ugly now. How did they go from this to this? Well, it's easy to be negative. Let's talk about what this game did better. This is a linear storytelling experience. In the last game, every time you beat a mission, you'd have to go back to the mission select screen and choose the next one. With this game, it's just ongoing. If you beat the entire game in one session, the acts and missions would be seamless. You'd have no idea. That being said, the entire game takes place inside the Alchemix building for both characters. So unless you like looking at industrial walls for 4 hours of playtime, you're gonna be begging for new scenery after the first hour of gameplay or so. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm being negative again. Let's keep talking about the good things. The story in this game is actually a really good Spider-Man story. After Peter goes up to the 66th floor, he gets killed by Anti-Venom, but Spider-Man 2099 grabs him through the time portal and puts him in a futuristic cryotube to revive him. Then Spider-Man 2099 has to go into the past to stop the CEO from altering time. Once Peter wakes up, they have to work together to fix reality. There's a lot of really cool things they do with the time travel, such as destroying research on mutants in the past in order to stop them from attacking Spider-Man in the future. This is such a cool concept. I love the idea of changing something in the past and seeing the immediate effect of it in the future. As you progress through the game, you see that Doc Ock, the CEO of Alchemix, and Anti-Venom also went into the time portal all at the same time, and it morphed them into one monster called Atrocity, Doc Ock, Anti-Venom, and the CEO of Alchemix. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect Spider-Man bad guy. But Activision accidentally added an extra ingredient: boring gameplay. So now throughout the game, there are these random tentacles that'll pop up out of the ground and you have to shoot the red part with your web. It's not difficult, but they present it like it's a puzzle. In reality, it's more of a chore. You don't have to do any thinking to find them, just walk to the obvious area and press B a bunch of times until it goes away. This happens a lot while playing as the Amazing Spider-Man. Instead of tentacles, 2099 gets a really cool skydiving section to break up the monotony of punching and kicking. I really liked these in the last game, so I was super excited to have them back in this one. They're actually a lot harder and a lot longer. Some of the sections took around 5 minutes or so, but that might be a side effect of me being really bad at these. I don't know if it was me or the controls, but I couldn't skydive a few feet without smashing into something. Like I said, this very well could just be me sucking, so I can't penalize it for that. There's a lot more of these sections in the game, with a lot more twists and turns. It really would have been a treat to see something like flying cars or the sky while shooting down, but no, just more industrial stuff. Aside from that, the only other thing that breaks up the gameplay, and I say that lightly, is these timed doors that you have to rush to get to before they close. But Spider-Man in a wheelchair could get to these before they close. Every one of them I got to before it even got to the halfway point, so the fun was completely taken out of it. As we progress more and more through the story, the Amazing Spider-Man is hearing a familiar voice talking to him through the speaker system. But he's in 2099, so that shouldn't be possible.
Told me you're here, and you've been very, very naughty. Whoops, little spider. I'll be right with you, so we can relive old times. Very, very naughty.
It turns out this is Black Cat. She was cloned and apparently became a Twitch streamer. This is the only real mini-boss fight in the entire game, and they handled it so poorly. You have to fight her and other clones 3 times, and then another time at the end. Because there's no real upgrades, you're super weak. I had to keep running out of the fight to find health orbs, and then go back and do it all over again. This is a pretty short game, but this took me the longest out of any of the boss fights. Once you beat Black Cat, the Amazing Spider-Man is looking through the Alchemex files in the future, and learns that Mary Jane is dead. So he orders Spider-Man 2099 to save her. But what is he even talking about? In the game, they say that the Amazing Spider-Man takes place during the 70s, and he's looking at a file from 2099. I'm not a mathematician or a doctor, but I don't think she was gonna make it to 129 years, buddy. One thing I haven't talked about yet is the graphics and art design. The game looks alright. They ditched the cel-shaded style and went for more of a realistic look. It did come out in 2011, so it doesn't hold up very well compared to 2019 standards, but the Spider-Man suits look pretty good, so credit to that. After fighting a couple more groups of bad guys and pulling on some more doors, Atrocity comes out of the time portal and chases Spider-Man into a genetic room. This is one of the few times that normal gameplay takes a break and we get to do something different. In this mission, you have to trap Atrocity in a room and stab him with a needle. It's not a bad or a good mission, it was just a break, and honestly, I needed it at that point. Shattered Dimensions got repetitive, but at least you got different playstyles. This is just the exact same thing for 4 hours. Unfortunately, we have to keep playing Door Opening Simulator, and at this point, I'd run out of jokes. So let's just skip to the final boss. There's actually 2 final bosses. As the Amazing Spider-Man, you have to fight Atrocity. The battle is pretty formulaic, but I had a good time. He's actually a pretty interesting concept, and the fight felt like it had some stakes. As Spider-Man 2099, you had to fight the new CEO of Alchemex, which is Peter Parker, but grown up. Oh yeah, that happened in the story, but I was so busy opening doors I forgot to mention it. This boss fight was anticlimactic. Instead of fighting an older, more experienced Spider-Man with a cool new suit, you fight him in a giant spider mech. So this boss fight is pretty not good. You just punch him, then wait, and punch him again, and wait, and punch him, and then you beat him. Everything goes back to normal, and both Spider-Man are put in their own universes. And that's game. I really didn't like this one. It felt like a low point for the 360 era of Spider-Man games. My final score is going to be 5 doors out of 10.
Well, another one down, I guess. I feel like the games are getting worse and worse as we get towards the end here. And you know what? I'm not going to stand for it. Spider-Man deserves better. I'm going to go on a hunger strike right now until I get a good Spider-Man game. What games do I have next anyways? If you're watching this right now, chances are that you're a nerd. And right now, I'm in nerd heaven at the Collector's Outpost in Gurney Mills Mall.
At the Collector's Outpost, you'll find premium statues, replica swords, art prints, and boutiques with your favorite fandom. Oh, and by the way, they have some killer Spider-Man statues. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, come down to the Collector's Outpost in Gurney Mills Mall. And if you're not from around the area, don't worry. Everything in the store is sold online with free shipping on orders over $50. A link will be in the description for their website and their social media, which they post cool content daily to.
Thank you again, the Collector's Outpost, for sponsoring this episode, and thank you for watching.